Good evening. I'm calling the August 5th, 2025 meeting of the Board of Education in order per Government Code Section 54950 et sequitur and Education Code Section 35140 et sequitur at 5:03 p.m. We will now be adjourning to closed session for the purpose of discussing the following matters. 3.1, public employee discipline, dismissal, suspension, release, leave, assignment, non-reelection, non-reappointment, resignation, reinstatement pursuant to Government Code 54957. 3.2, conference with labor negotiations, Dr. Alan Musarino, interim superintendent, Joan Velasco, interim assistant superintendent, administrative services, and Yolanda Mendoza, acting assistant superintendent over human resources, to discuss our three unions, CSEA, APLE, and PLUM. 3.3, claims, special education settlement agreement for student identified number 1761 and general liability claim number 657880. It looks like we have no one wishing to speak tonight. So, unless someone raises their hand really quick, we will adjourn to closed session at 5:04 p.m. Good evening. We'll reconvene to regular session at 6:08 p.m. Closed session. The board took action to approve the special education settlement between agreement for student identified number 1761 for $82,000. The motion was made by Mrs. Buck, the second by Mrs. Blades, and the motion carried 5-0. Okay. Trustee Blades, could you lead us in the flag salute?
Sure. Please rise. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to request at this time, if the board is agreeable, that we consider moving up our student board member, item 15.1, so she can join us. Everyone good with that? Yep. Okay. So I need a motion.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mrs. Blades, a second by Mrs. Buck, to appoint Ariana Mejia as a student board member for the first semester for the 25-26 school year. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and there's no opposed, so motion carries 5-0. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Musarino.
Here we go. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, cabinet, and members of our community. It's an absolute privilege for me here to welcome Ariana to our board. Ariana, if you would please join me for the oath. And you could stand right here. And here's the oath. Before we do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about you. Ariana grew up in our district, attending Topaz Elementary, Tuffrey Middle School, and El Dorado High School, and now El Camino Real. She's on track to graduate early this academic year and dedicates much of her time to her creative passions, including choreographing dances and quinceañeras and practicing nail design. Ariane is also an engaged member of the leadership class, where she actively contributes to the planning and execution of school events. Following graduation, Ariana hopes to attend Fullerton College to pursue a career in nursing. Good for you. Ariana has a very strong support system, including her mom, Anna, who's here tonight, her young sister, Genesis, who's a fifth grader at Topaz as well. Also in attendance to show support our principal, Gina Aguilar, and our Dean of Students, Amanda Boggs. Thank you all for being here as well. We're very pleased that Ariana has agreed to serve as our student board member during her last year at PYL USD. So before we do the oath, one more round of applause for our star student, Ariana Mejia. Okay, you ready? Now we're going to do the oath of office. So please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Ariana Mejia, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter as a student board member. I am committed to providing a voice for students, including communicating effectively regarding schools, programs, activities, and student achievement. Furthermore, I will do my best to ensure all representative opinions of the students of the Placentia-Yorba Unified School District are actively sought, heard, and considered as I serve as a student member to the Board of Education. Congratulations to you, Ariana. And now, please join us up on the dais, and we'd love to get a picture, Mom, if we can, and your sister. So why don't we get you up in your seat here, next to Trustee Blaze. How do you, should we also, how about we surround Mom and Genesis? There you go. There we go.
Congratulations, Adriana. We're so excited to have you, Ariana. We're excited to have you here as our student board member and to listen to your opinions and hear you represent the students of our district. I don't know if they explained to you, but each month you get a question. So this is the question for this month. Is what experience do you hope to gain in serving as the Placentia-Yorba Linda Unified School District Board member?
Thank you. I'm excited. Is it on? Okay. I'm excited to experience the process of how decisions are made for students in our district, and I mainly look forward to being a voice for our students, especially those in alternative education, as well as advocating for their needs. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
We are very excited to hear a new voice, especially representing our alternative programs, and so look forward to hearing from you a lot. Okay, no pressure. Please don't be shy, yes, speak out. Okay, let the records show that all board members are here, including our student board member. And now we need an approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the August 5th, 2025 Board of Education agenda.
Second.
As amended.
As amended.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Blades, a second by Mr. Frazier. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Was that an aye for you too? Okay, perfect. A motion carried 5-0 with a stipulated aye from our student board member. Okay, public comment announcement. Public comment cards are available in the foyer. Cards must be completed and turned in prior to the designated time for public comment. Provide a maximum of 3 minutes per person. If translation is needed, an additional 3 minutes will be given. Please let us know. If we know ahead of time, we can ensure we are prepared. Civility policy, Education Code 220 prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability, gender, gender identity, gender expression, nationality, race or ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or any other characteristic that is contained in the definition of hate crime set forth in Section 422.55 of the Penal Code, including immigration status. Additionally, if there are any disruptions or interferences of the board's ability to conduct its meeting, the disruptive parties will be given one warning. If the disruption continues, you will be informed that the board president has found you disruptive in violation of Penal Code Section 403, Education Code Section 32210, and the board president will order you removed from the meeting under Government Code 54957.9 and 54957.95. If removing one or several disruptive parties does not restore order, the board president will exercise their authority to clear the room in accordance with Government Code 54957.9. Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the July 22nd meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Buck, a second by Mrs. Blades. Is there any comment or corrections? Okay, and since you weren't here at that meeting, you don't get to vote, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, so now we will turn the time over to Mrs. French and Dr. Brewmeister from the Casca Group to provide us an update on the superintendent search to the board.
I think so, yeah. There's a green light on, so that's usually good. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Muserino, cabinet, and distinguished guests. The Board of Education of Placentia-Yorba Unified School District approved the Casca Group as consultants to assist the district in the process of selecting a new superintendent. The Casca Group prepared a schedule for the superintendent search, which was developed with the board at a special board meeting. The schedule included several days with the Casca Group partners. The Casca Group partners met with identified groups and individuals to receive input on the strengths of the district, needs and challenges facing the district, as well as characteristics desired in the new superintendent. The partners met with a total of 251 people in focus groups and individual meetings. The participants were representatives of the district and the greater Placentia-Yorba community. The groups included students, parents, district employees, parent-student groups, and community members. All meetings were advertised using district procedures. The common themes presented below represent a variety of input received at each of the focus group sessions. In total, the partners collectively listened to more than 16 hours of comments from the representatives of the Placentia-Yorba community, who shared their thoughts concerning the district's strengths, needs, and challenges, as well as the characteristics desired in the new superintendent. The attached focus group comments from these individuals have been edited for clarity and organization. An online survey was distributed to all employees and various school community group members, focusing on the same 3 questions as the focus groups. There were 581 responses received and categorized by their role within the district: parent, student, certificated, classified, management supervisor, community member, or other. From the input received from the Board of Education and the focus group comments attached, the COSCA group identified the most important strengths and needs of the district, as well as the desired characteristics of a new superintendent. As such, the desired characteristics were printed in all recruitment documents and will be used as the main criteria against which all applicants will be evaluated during the screening process, interviews, and the final selection process.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Busarino, Cabinet, and to our community and staff. It's such a pleasure to be here tonight, and quite honestly, I'm shocked that it's gone so quickly. We've had such a great opportunity to get acquainted with the staff here in PYL, with the community, and honestly, it's been a great pleasure. As Kirk said, we've spent about 16 hours talking with everyone from our principals, classified staff, certificated staff, our confidential staff, of course, our Board of Trustees. We've talked with our community members. We've led focus groups, and we led did a survey that Kirk talked about with the 581 responses, which I just have to tell you, in talking with all 26 partners in the COSCA group, that's record-breaking. So what we are presenting tonight is just sort of the themes that we found in all of the documents that, and all of the conversations that we've had. I would like to just remind the board, I did hand out something for you. That is just a copy of the profile, which you've seen prior. This is what has been used as a recruitment tool as we've been out looking for candidates for the position. And then the other document that I have given you is a synthesized version of what we talked about over the weekend, and the lengthy 28-page document that I shared with you with the direct comments that came from our groups. So if you look at page 1 through 7 of this document, this simply takes all of the groups, and for the purposes of confidentiality, we do not name the groups by name. So we did it group A through group O, not naming whether it was community, certificated, management, or classified for the purposes of protecting people's desire to speak as candidly as possible. And then pages 1 through 6, we've taken all of those strengths, challenges, and desired characteristics and summarized them. If you turn to page 7, this is really, interestingly, the shortest document that I've provided to you in just a little while, but it really is the most important. What Kirk and I have done is taken all of the feedback that we've received. We've gone through every comment in every group. We've categorized the 581 comments that we received from the community via the survey, and then we've put them to, we've analyzed them and disaggregated them, and have provided the top strengths that were your key themes, the top challenges that continue to rise to the top, as well as the desired superintendent characteristics that were common themes across all of the groups that we spoke with. So when we look at strengths, one of the things that continue to come to the top in just about every group that we spoke to is the dedicated teacher and staff here in PYL. There was lots of conversation throughout really almost every group about just the homegrown continuity that exists with our staff. And it was really fun to, I say our, like I work here, because I feel like I've been here for a while and I've come to really love PYL. I'm a resident, but it's just been so great to talk with all of you. We have many staff members who, they went to school here, their children now go to school here, maybe their parents work here. And so, and they've just been very dedicated to not only to the city, but to the district as well. And that's considered a definite strength. Definitely strong academic programs and pathways, AP, AVID, arts, all the athletics, all the academies. This is something that the children that we were able to meet with, they just raved about. And I just want to say, as a retired superintendent, I just don't think there's a better indicator of things that are going well in a school district than when you talk with kids and they get excited about their opportunities academically. Doesn't mean everything's perfect, but they definitely feel as though they have opportunity and they have access. And that is something that continued to be a very strong theme. One of the other things we heard a lot was our community and parent engagement is really strong. There's active voices in the community, opportunities for parents to participate at the school site, at the district level. Definitely, they want to see a little bit more organization around that and more access to that, but overall, they felt as though there was a lot of opportunity for participation. And then continued to be a theme was diversity and inclusion efforts across the district, in both the community as well as the school district. So that's the easy thing to talk about. Now I'm going to talk about the challenges. And again, these were themes that we saw in all of our conversations. So one of the things that we talked about quite a bit, that definitely had some emotion around it, was a perceived or real, depending on how they express their feelings, lack of transparency and trust within the district. We don't press people on their comments. We wrote them down unedited. We wrote them as they were stated. If people decided they wanted to sort of extrapolate on their comments, we definitely allowed for that opportunity, but we didn't dig and ask questions. This was something that we heard almost in every group, that there seems to have been some sort of a lack of trust that has happened over the last few years, and that's something that definitely they would like to see addressed. They feel, and they being collectively, the groups A through O, that there's political division in the district and that there are some board challenges that they feel are hard to overcome as either a community member or a staff member, and felt that that would be a potential struggle for a new superintendent. And there was also quite a bit of chat about leadership turnover and instability. And we all know that in order for there to be continued success in an organization, one of the leading indicators is the stability between the superintendent and the board. There are statistics out there that help us to predict the success of a school district, and that's one of the leading indicators, as well as the leadership, your management, and your teachers, everyone in the district. If you look at districts that have high levels of stability, you typically will see long-term success. And so that instability is definitely something that was talked about quite readily, where there was deep concern around, with a new superintendent, how do we remedy that and how do we bring that feeling of stability back to the district? There was a concern around equity issues in resources and opportunities. The kids spoke about this, and this was really around grading policy, around academic access. There was some concern around special education programs and what schools that they were available at, and how our children with special needs had access and opportunity in comparison to maybe some of their neighbors at a different school. So just looking at the resource and the allocation of resources was a continued theme as we talked about challenges. And then finally, the last one that we talked about quite readily was low morale and fear of retaliation. And so when that was talked about, typically went back to that lack of transparency and trust. So those things kind of went hand in hand. So those were the key themes that we found in challenges. And now I'll move on to the desired characteristics of the superintendent. And again, these come from, just as I don't mean to repeat myself, so that I don't want anyone to think that any voice was left out. These are the themes across the gamut from groups A to groups O, obviously inclusive of our board of trustees and our executive cabinet and every other part of the community. One of the things that was paramount, and everyone said it, is we want a superintendent with integrity, honesty, and full transparency. And that was with themselves, high integrity for themselves, high accountability for themselves, and honesty and transparency with the relationship with the board collectively as the 5-member board, and individually as individual board members, as well as with their staff and the community. They also were looking for someone who is apolitical, is a unifier, and is a very strong communicator. And apolitical, just kind of going back to that challenge about the political division, is that a superintendent is not an elected official. They're here to serve the board and to serve they're the board's only employee, and their political opinions are really not relative, And so the community is looking for someone who can keep that part of their life out of it while working to unify and heal what the community views as currently a political division amongst the district. They would like someone who is extremely visible. This came out with the students. They really want their superintendent to be at their stuff. I'll just say it like the kids said it. They want them to watch them play football and listen to them sing and hear them at their concerts and walk their schools. Our staff want to see them, not just coming in the back door and maybe talking to a couple people and walking out, but really immersing themselves in the schools. Similarly at the district office, just walking around and saying hello and being visible and being present, and just really showing their approachability as well as being extremely student-centered. And that's a term we use a lot in education. It feels a little cliche because, of course, we're here for students. But what does student-centered mean, right? We should be making decisions based on what's in the best interest of all kids in the district, and sometimes that involves making very difficult decisions. Part of that discussion was a superintendent who is willing to make the hard decisions, someone who is courageous, someone who is bold and strong, but yet tender and kind. So that's a big mix of a person, but it's doable. And someone who is courageous enough to make those hard decisions when it comes to making sure that all of our kids have equal opportunity and equal access. The community is very interested in having a collaborative leader who values all of their staff and all of their community and values their board of trustees, again, as a collective group and as individual people with individual opinions. And then finally, I said the word already, but someone who is courageous, someone who can make tough decisions and stands for what is right. So those are the themes that came across in those 16 hours. It was interesting to synthesize it all down to just these few points, but I think they're very representative of what we've heard in the time that we were honored to meet with all of your community and your staff who made their voices heard, and again, represented in those 581 survey results that we received as well. We look forward to the continued work. We are just August 11th, so just short of a week away from the application deadline, and then we'll get busy working with the board at a special board meeting and looking at prospective candidates and preparing for the interview process that first week of September, with hopefully appointing a new superintendent on September 9th, if that still is the plan. We're looking forward to that. So Kirk and I are happy to answer any questions. If you have any, we'd love to answer anything we can to clarify or expand if needed.
I don't think I have any questions, but thank you very much for putting it in clear data and clear data points, and very, very understandable and very easy to see and read.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
It's been our pleasure.
Can you speak to how many applications you've received?
We have received 2, but don't fret.
I know you said most
yes.
of them come towards the end.
We will
Right.
probably get most of them come Friday, Saturday. We have about 12 prospective candidates that we know of as of right now, but we have 2 applications submitted at this point.
Thank you so much for all the detail and all of the work put into this. This is something that we needed to have done. It was very comprehensive and gives us some good direction, and hopefully will give the new superintendent some good direction.
Yes, of course. We plan to, of course, share all of this with your new superintendent, so they have all the knowledge that we have. You're welcome. It's been our honor.
Can you explain your scale for the word count representation?
Sure. So Dr. Musarino will be proud of me on this because I'm an AI resistant, not AI, but ChatGPT resistant person, because I want my brain to continue to work long into my life. No offense to those of you who love it, but what I did is basically a Wordle with this because I wanted to see what words were coming up most. And as I disaggregated all of those, as we were looking at all those results and disaggregating them, it gets a little daunting when you've got 16 hours of documentation, 581 survey results. And I want to say our survey results, they were exactly as they were in person. So they weren't multiple choice, so they were narrative. And some folks spent a lot of time on those surveys, which were very, very informative. So I just placed it all in so that I could get the words that showed up the most to then help go back and disaggregate that to develop the themes And then I just did that whole old-fashioned, my whole entire office filled with words and dots to make sure that we were truly representing it. We wanted to make sure, when Kirk and I worked on this, to make sure that every voice was heard and that we didn't miss anything, even when, as I shared with the board, even when it's hard for me to deliver some of the information I have to deliver. I think it's important that every voice is heard clearly.
One last question. Could you speak to the comparison in the way that these surveys came out compared to other districts that you've done?
Sure. I can share that, like I said, record-breaking, 581 surveys in, we had the survey open for just like 10 days, right? 10 days. These surveys were very, not that surveys in the past haven't been honest, but very voluminous, and typically we get a response, it's 1 or 2 sentences, right? Because it's just, I want to fill this out and make sure my voice is heard, but quite descriptive, giving examples. And quite honestly, it was evident of the division that does exist in opinion. And so we didn't ask for names. We don't track where they came from. So we could only tell if they were a community member or a staff member, so that helped us give us context as we were developing the themes. But I would say very, very involved, very robust, and very transparent, very honest. And also very kind. I've read sometimes it's easy to sit behind a computer and say a thing that you would never say publicly. And that did not happen. I think that we only had 1 or 2 comments that felt like maybe that person wouldn't have said it if they had been in one of the town halls. But the rest were just, I just want the best for my student. I'm committed to Placentia-Yorba schools. This is what I see happening. So very, very robust and lengthy.
I just want to thank the staff, the community, everybody that filled out these surveys. We asked a few months ago when all this began to please fill those out when they came out. So thank you. I'm glad we're record breaking in that. It shows that we are trying to get the most information and to get the good representation from the community. So thank you for doing that.
Of course. Yeah. I echo that. We tried to make sure we shared that with everyone who was present in the town halls as well, and the focus groups.
This is really amazing amount of information, considering with our short timeline, trying to squeeze it in before school let out and teachers left on vacation, staff left, students left. And so thank you so much for, your dedication to our district and helping us through this project. It's very noticeable.
Of course, it's been our honor. I want to take 1 second to thank Lauralee and Annette, because honestly, we wouldn't be standing here without them. They've been so helpful in directing all of the district procedures, for getting everything out, and just being those people who helped us in the 11th hour almost every time. So we're super, super grateful. And I wanted to say congratulations to Ariana as a student board member. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, it's time for our superintendent report. I'll turn it over to Dr. Musarino.
Thank you, Madam President, and members of the board, and distinguished colleagues, and everyone who is here tonight and watching at home. Well, we're back. Our site teams returned yesterday for a half day of professional learning before returning to their sites to focus on the 24-25 assessment data, and then talk about 25-26 expectations. This Thursday, we will welcome back our entire leadership team for our annual kickoff event, which will be held at El Dorado High School, featuring the work of Stephen M.R. Covey and the Trust and Inspire Leadership Model, which revolves around 3 stewardships: modeling, trusting, and inspiring. As we look forward to our students' return on August 26, we remain focused on our mission to serve every student every day by providing our learners with a rigorous, relevant education enriched by strong athletics, activities and the arts. Summer, well, school may have been out for the summer. Departments across our district remain hard at work to support students and prepare for the new school year. More than 5,500 students participated in 6 enriching academic and extracurricular programs, including enrichment, childcare, English language development, dual language academy camps, high school credit recovery, and sports camps. These dynamic offerings were made possible through the collaborative efforts of the early and expanded learning, education services, and special education departments, as well as the dedication of our teachers, staff, and administrators who worked tirelessly to ensure a meaningful experience for all of our kiddos. So thank you again for everyone's effort and work on behalf of our students and community. Our transportation department played a vital role in ensuring students arrived safely and on time to their summer programs, helping families stay connected to the valuable learning opportunities offered throughout our district. In addition, the maintenance and facilities department was equally busy, completing preventative maintenance, repairs, groundskeeping, custodial work, and capital improvement projects across all campuses to ensure our schools are in top condition for the return of students and staff. Our nutritional services department also continued to serve the community by offering free breakfast and lunch to all children 18 and under at 5 school sites, those being Melrose, Rio Vista, Topaz, Tynes, and Valencia, throughout the summer. Together, these efforts reflect PYL-USD's unwavering commitment to supporting students every step of the way, every student, every day, even during the summer months. And those are a bunch of reasons why any superintendent would be privileged to be leading PYL-USD. And that concludes my report, Madam President.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we are on to public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for the public to provide input to the Board of Education. During the public comment period, board members do not dialogue with the speaker or make comments regarding the information shared. We have how many speakers?
We have 6.
Speakers tonight, so each speaker will be given 3 minutes. You ready to call up?
Yes. Our first 4 speakers, please take a seat in the front row. Sierra Sanchez. And Sierra, you may actually approach the podium. Linda Cohn. Giselle Castillo Nunez. Brooke Harper. I think I'll just call all 6. Sam Mayovich and Dave Radlauer. You all may come to the front. And Sierra, whenever you're ready.
Good evening, President, Board of Trustees, Cabinet, and my fellow community members. My name is Sierra Sanchez. I am the area captain for the National Academy of Athletics here in North Orange County. I was lucky enough to grow up in the beautiful community of Diamond Bar, alongside my 2 older brothers, 9 cousins, all of us deeply devoted to our sports. We played hard when we were young, and some of us had the very best times, not in a gym or a stadium, but in the cul-de-sac right outside my grandma's front yard. We played basketball barefoot, and we played until the sun went down. I'm proud to come from 3 generations of sports coaches who loved their community and dedicated their lives to building up young people. These experiences gave me confidence, lifelong friendships, and a sense of belonging. And I want the kids of this district to have the same passion that I had that shaped me today. Of course, unlike those cul-de-sac games, National Academy of Athletics provides safe, structured programs that focus on physical and emotional well-being of each child, while still letting them play hard and have fun. We offer PE supplementation, after-school programs, and youth sports leagues designed to be inclusive for all skill levels, ages 4 to 13. I've also brought flyers tonight, and I could share them with you guys. We would be honored to provide these programs to your schools. At the end of the day, every child deserves to feel the joy that I felt growing up, playing hard, laughing with friends, and knowing they belong. That's exactly why the National Academy is here. Thank you so much for your time and for their work you do for our students and families. I would be honored to follow up with the staff to share more about how we can bring these opportunities to your district. Thank you.
Well done, Sarah. Thank you.
May I leave them over here? Flyers?
You'd hand them over to the to Annette or Laura Lee. Thank you. Linda Cohn.
Yes. I'm actually speaking to item 15.2, the Mahmood issue. PYL parents were given the following question in their registration materials, and I quote, question, I have read 6141.2 AR, recognition of religious beliefs and customs. I understand it is my responsibility to submit a district form to opt my student out of applicable instruction if I choose to do so, and then the citation of Mahmood versus Taylor. I'm not sure what the question is, but that's the item that we're talking about tonight. I'm going to respectfully recommend that all of you read the analysis of Mahmood versus Taylor and several other related and supporting court cases, including California Supreme Court's Hardwick decision in the document from the California Justice Center, authored by Julie Hamill, who is the president of this center and also happens to be a school board trustee in Palos Verdes. This document argues with support that the California School Board Association policy 6141.2 AR is unconstitutional. This model policy issued by the California School Boards Association prohibits schools from providing parental advance notice or opt-out of materials in discussing gender identity, gender expression, or sexual orientation. 6141 is the polar opposite of Mahmood versus Taylor. The bottom line here is that you don't revise a policy. You have to completely rescind this particular policy because the Supreme Court has made it crystal clear, and all you have to do is read Mahmood versus Taylor, that such a blanket denial of notice, parental notice, and opt-out rights, especially when instruction conveys a normative message about gender or sexuality, is unconstitutional. So my contention is that 6141 simply has to go. You have to start over from scratch. Parents, if there are any of you listening, I strongly urge that you submit this letter by the California Justice Center, submit this letter in requesting that you get the protection that Mahmood versus Taylor provides. This letter provides a detailed analysis of exactly what you want the school district to do and what you want them not to do that is completely consistent with the Supreme Court decision.
Thank you, Ms. Cohn. Our next speaker, please approach the podium, Giselle Castillo Nunez.
Hello, my name is Giselle. I am currently a social work student at USC and a PYL USD alumni, as well as both of my siblings attend Valadez and Valencia. Today, I just wanted to come and raise awareness to a topic that I would like to continue to be talked about, which is the awareness of gun violence prevention. As we know, gun violence deaths continue to be the main cause of death for children from ages 1 through 19. And for the upcoming school year, I just wanted to see if there was any policies or any new procedures that are going to be implemented this year, mostly in regards to, for example, schools like George Key, who have wheelchair-bound students, as well as they may have disabilities that do not allow them to be able to protect themselves in situations as this. So I wanted to talk about the procedures that are going to happen this upcoming school year. And I just wanted to continue to encourage the board to look into these laws and to not allow this topic to be a back burner. The reality is that children do die from gun violence, and we can do something as a community to be able to prevent that and not allow that to happen. So I just really urge you to continue to work on that and continue to look at the laws and policies and procedures that are happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nunez. Well said. Brooke Harper, please approach the podium. Brooke?
Good evening. My name is Brooke Harper, and I have 2 elementary students in the district, and I'm here to speak out against specific language in the proposed update to BP 6141.2. At least 7 of you got an email from me as well, so thank you for hearing me out. I hope the minutes will reflect that I'm asking for, I'm speaking in opposition to language in 6141. Specifically, I want the following language struck from the board policy. This language states staff are not prohibited when acting in their private capacity from encouraging students' participation in personal prayer or other religious activity. The BP was written gives no specific definition of what constitutes official capacity versus private capacity. It also makes no distinction between encouragement and coercion. And as someone who has participated in many an expert-led corporate training, it is accepted knowledge that authority over someone lends itself to coercion. And who else has more authority over our children than the staff at a school, besides a parent, particularly children as young as mine in elementary school. So while this language is being adapted in response to Mahmoud v. Taylor, which is in the agenda, I suspect that there's also an attempt to satisfy Kennedy versus Bremerton. And as of today, the current guidance from the Department of Education, led by Trump appointee Linda McMahon, offers this guidance. The Supreme Court's decision sets forth principles that distinguish impermissible governmental religious speech from constitutionally protected private religious speech. For example, teachers, coaches, and other public school officials acting in their official capacities may not lead students in prayer, devotional readings, or other religious activities, nor may they attempt to persuade or compel students to participate in prayer or other religious activities or to refrain from doing so. That's on the federal government's website as guidance in response to Taylor and Mahmoud. Mahmoud v. Taylor allows parents to opt their children out of materials that go against their strongly held religious beliefs, and surely every single one of you can see the hypocrisy in using the same board policy to codify a staff member's so-called right to encourage a child to pray or participate in religious activities. It's hypocritical. Additionally, I hope you will strengthen the language around students who are non-believers. It's mentioned one time in the entire policy, and I think that that is a mistake. A designation that is, it's only addressed one time in the whole document. So I'm not an elected official, nor am I being compensated with taxpayer dollars to be here tonight, so I'm gonna go home and hang out with my kids for the rest of the evening. But I hope you will do your duty as elected officials compensated by our tax dollars and strike this specific language from this BP. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Harper. Our next speaker, Sam Majevich.
The idea is that deficit spending at one site does not come out of the budgets of other schools, and that we don't move forward as a district if we look at spending at individual schools is troubling. Essentially, all of the schools in the district operate under the same proven model. OCSCS has made the conscious decision to try something different. It is yet to be determined if this is a wise course, so we should reserve judgment on that issue. There is a reason, however, that the Ed Code requires district charters be broken out in the LCAP. It is not, quote, business as usual, unquote. These programs must be under constant scrutiny to ensure fiscal responsibility. That being said, you cannot call yourself a fiscal conservative without fully understanding this concept. We are concerned about the statement that we cannot move forward as a district if we look at schools individually. Why is that? If any school in the district is a disproportional drain on the district's limited resources, shouldn't we at least try to understand why? Shouldn't we try to remedy those situations if practicable? With respect to deficits at one site not directly impacting the budgets of other schools, that is an incredibly naive concept. When you have a limited source of funding, any dollar spent is a dollar that cannot be spent elsewhere. It's as simple as that. The existence of a limited reserve does not change this economic reality. Once we go into deficit spending, something the district is required to do is we may not permit a district-run site to be insolvent. We have a responsibility to determine if that spending, which represents an additional slice of pie, if you will, is justified when compared to other potential uses. Is additional professional development time at a single site serving less than 600 students that is already encroaching on district funds justifiable when the rest of the district is cutting academic services? That is a very complicated question, but it must not be dismissed on the theory that these deficits do not directly come out of other schools' budgets. Of course they do.
Thank you, Mr. Mayovich and Dave Radlauer.
To continue that thought, difficult choices have to be made, and it's up to you, this board, to make them without fear or favor. You stand as the parents, and individual schools represent children asking for whatever they can get. Sometimes, difficult as it may be, the answer has to be no. It's not magic money. Put your political agenda aside. Stop blindly defending programs out of fear that someone might say, "I told you so," if you alter your course. Be the conservatives you profess to be. Stop trying to project potential indicators of failure onto unnamed individuals who you claim are motivated solely by a desire to see these programs fail. Of course, if these programs are successful, they could benefit the district as a whole. But the corollary is equally true. The failure of these programs could be devastating to the district. Work together honestly. Listen to each other actively instead of biding your time until you can impose your preconceived ideas on your target audience. Stop performing for activists on both sides of the aisle. This body was explicitly designed to be nonpartisan. The Brown Act has many positive attributes. However, I believe this is its greatest flaw. It takes courage to have an honest debate while performing for a dangerously divided room of partisan voters. Please, try and personify those profiles in courage that have sadly become a relic of our past. Future generations are counting on you. With respect to the policy in response to the Mahmoud decision, the suggested language appears to go too far. Specifically, the provision that, quote, staff are not prohibited when acting in their private capacity from encouraging students' participation in personal prayer or other religious activities. This overly broad and ambiguous provision could be interpreted to permit proselytizing on school grounds. What teachers do on their own time off school property is, with limited exception, their own business. What takes place on school property is a whole different concern. How exactly are we defining private capacity? What does encouraging mean in this context? What are other religious activities? This is very treacherous ground. And is the language actually required under the holdings of Mahmoud and Kennedy? Where is the line between encouragement and coercion, particularly when you are dealing with young and impressionable minors with a natural desire to want to please their teachers? Would this policy be any less effective if this sentence were simply eliminated? Since this provision arguably permits direct religious indoctrination by teachers on school property, where is the parent's right to opt out on religious grounds? That's the essential holding of Mahmoud. Doesn't the rest of the policy adequately cover what is and is not acceptable behavior on school grounds? We need time to consider this policy and should not waive a second reading simply to have a policy in place by the beginning of the school year. Even if we were to hastily adopt this policy, what training has been created to give principals and teachers appropriate guidance? Teachers already have a difficult time navigating the culture war waters that have been thrust upon them. We're not here to debate the wisdom of these decisions. They are the law, and we must design a policy consistent with their holdings. However, we should try and adopt a policy that is narrowly tailored with straightforward direction that gives teachers the guidance they need and parents the level of comfort
Thank you,
they
Mr.
deserve.
Radlauer. That concludes our comments, Madam President.
Thank you guys for your comments tonight. We are moving to item 15.2, revised board policy 6141.2, recognition of religious beliefs and customs, first reading as it relates to Mahmoud versus Taylor. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to revise Board Policy 6141.2, recognition of religious beliefs and customs, first reading as it relates to Mahmoud versus Taylor.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Blades, a second by Mr. Frazier, and at this time I'll turn it over to Dr. Musarino.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. And we have our counsel here today, Mr. Robbins from AALRR, who's going to talk about a little bit of process as well as the policy and its history.
All right, good evening. So what you have in front of you is a revision to 6141.2 in light of the Supreme Court's decision in Mahmood. That was one of the policies that we looked at, and the district had an existing 6141.2, but it hadn't been updated since 1978. So it was my recommendation that it was prudent to kind of bring it up to speed, kind of consistent with what the current state of the law is. So what you have in front of you is CSBA's most recent 2024 revision of 6141.2. And I'll get to the language that's been referenced in the public comments in just a minute. But CSBA is actually going to be doing further revisions in light of Mahmood, but the language that you have in 6141.2 that talks about the ability to opt out of curriculum as necessary, as provided by law, that's going to be the language that CSBA is going to be recommending anyway. So what you have is basically what's coming down the pike from CSBA. With respect to the concern about that specific sentence in the policy, that language was added by CSBA regarding the private conduct of teachers in their private capacities. That was added correctly. One of the speakers referenced the Kennedy versus Bremerton decision. And that's the case where the coach engaged in post-game prayer, where the court found private activity in that particular case appears to be a brief moment in time. The court referenced the coach's job description, which allowed him to check his text messages, contact his family after a football game. So in the court's view, that was the coach acting in his private capacity. And so they also turned that language into the ability to engage in post-game prayer. The court's conclusion was that he did it alone. I think that was a disputed fact, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, I think with respect to the idea of why that language is in the policy, it was likely due to the fact that the way that the policy read before could have been interpreted to mean that simply because you're a teacher, you're not allowed to ever speak with students about religious topics or engage in religious activities with students in any capacity. And that was probably, I don't speak for them, but I can imagine that was probably never the intent of CSBA, but they probably felt it was prudent to clarify that, especially in light of the Kennedy versus Bremerton case, to indicate that if you're a teacher and you're not on duty and not otherwise providing services to the district, nothing prohibits you from engaging in religious activities with a student. So that might mean that a teacher has an active role at his or her place of worship. Nothing prohibits that, where the teacher may come into contact with somebody who is also a student at the school when at that place of worship. And I think that could have been CSBA's intent in adding that language, is to make sure that the policy itself didn't suffer a potential facially unconstitutional challenge. And so I can only speculate that that's why that's there, but I believe that's probably why that's there. When you're thinking about somebody acting in their official capacity, you're thinking about the time that they're required to be providing services to the district, standing in front of students in the classroom, supervising students, whether that's on the football field or on the basketball court or in the science lab. When they are providing services to the school district, they are acting in their capacities as employees of the Placentia-Yorba Unified School District, And consistent with many Supreme Court cases, Garcetti versus Ceballos, public employees do have a reduced First Amendment right when they're acting in their official capacities. There are some exceptions to that, but we're not going to get into that. But with respect to what we're concerned about today, think of it as their official capacity is when they're teaching, when they're classified employees and they are providing custodial services or driving a school bus or working in the front office. They're serving the school district at that time. But when they're walking away from their jobs at the end of the day, they're no longer on the clock. They are now private citizen and have the constitutional right to engage in those types of discussions with students and with each other. So I think that's probably what that language was intended to cover.
So you're saying this is your speculation. Is there a agreed upon definition legally of private capacity?
There's not an agreed upon legal definition of most things, Mr. Fraser.
Fair.
So, you know.
But this is from CSBA.
Yeah.
This is
This is not-
language
this
is from
is 2024.
I was going
though.
to say
It's 2024 language, but there's
it's updated from 1978.
So there's updated from 1978 to 2024, and I have added the language that's going to be in the 2025 revision that is consistent with post-Mahmoud.
Which part is that you added?
Let me pull it up. Yeah, it's the second to last paragraph. That's the policy. Then there's an AR as well that's more detailed.
Do we have the AR? I couldn't find it.
I think it was linked.
I didn't
in the
see it
handbook,
linked.
below?
correct?
It was provided in the board updates last week.
Oh, it's not linked on the board agenda though?
No, because board policies come before the board and the administrative regulations.
But the public should have the AR. though.
Yeah, we should be able to see
Right,
what
they
the
can
AR
see
is going
that.
to say.
Yes, it was provided in the parent handbook as well as the data confirmation, and it's posted on our website.
Before we voted on the policy, if the AR comes after?
I think that the AR can be independent of the policy because the AR is how the administration is intending to comply with the law.
Yeah, I was going to say this doesn't seem to address
No.
the issue that was brought up in Mahmoud versus Taylor, calling out specifically, basically family normatives and anything that would apply to teaching something different than parents would want their kids to have, regardless of what that is.
I was actually.
Like not specific
Yeah.
So,
enough.
yeah, and therein lies the challenge. Mahmoud v. Taylor is an injunction case, first and foremost. So it's a group of parents that were seeking an injunction to stop a school district from basically requiring their kids to sit through story time while certain storybooks were being read. The school district had an opt-out procedure and then abandoned the opt-out procedure, probably because the school district felt it was too difficult to manage. The court, in a lengthy opinion, went through an analysis of the factors that would lead to probable success in seeking in granting an injunction, and ultimately found that the parents would likely be successful in getting the injunction. That's what the case is about. One of the things that Justice Alito, and this is the real critical part of the case, and I think that's why I say it depends, or when I say it's kind of, there's not going to be 100% agreement on this. Justice Alito says this, as our decision in Yoder, and Yoder is the case about the Amish families in Wisconsin from 1972. And that's this case, which is much shorter. It's a good read. I don't necessarily see the direct line of connection, but that's neither here nor there. Justice Alito says, as our decision in Yoder reflects, the question whether a law, quote, substantially interferes with the religious development of a child will always be fact-intensive. So that statement alone, I think, precludes blanket opt-out forms. This has been a big debate that's been happening statewide nationwide. Can a blanket opt-out form satisfy this inquiry? Do they need to be specific opt-out forms related to specific content? And my firm, we believe it's the latter. And this is why. It's because of this paragraph in this decision. It will depend on the specific religious beliefs and practices asserted, as well as the specific nature of the educational requirement or curriculum feature at issue. So I think even Justice Alito recognizes that if we had him here to talk, and he would answer the question, which he wouldn't because they don't do that, justices don't do that. But I think he would acknowledge that it's got to be taken on a case-by-case basis. And we undertook, your department did an exhaustive review of the district's curriculum from TK through 12th grade. And there are areas that we identified where, consistent with Mahmood, it would be safe to provide opt-outs. How that's going to be implemented, I think, Dr. Young can probably talk more about that, maybe not tonight because it's still new and fresh, but she might be able to talk about it. Because they're going to still be directing staff and principals on how to deal with this. But we've identified those areas, and opt-out notices will go out in some way, and parents can come review the curriculum if they want to decide whether they want to opt out. They can submit the opt-out. The form is going to ask them these questions. What is the specific religious belief or practices that's asserted? What is the specific nature of the educational requirement or curricular feature at issue? And how does it substantially interfere with the religious development of the child? Because again, we have to do that fact-intensive analysis. How we're supposed to do that, the court didn't help us out.
But Todd,
Yeah.
I've been looking at the Mahmood, and the Mahmood says, obviously, if nobody knows what Mahmood is about, it was Mahmood versus Taylor was the United States Supreme Court found that a school district's introduction of LGBTQ plus inclusive storybooks combined with its decision to withhold notice to parents and to forbid opt-outs substantially interferes with the religious development of their children and poses an unacceptable burden on religious exercise. In other
Right.
words, a blanket prohibition against notice and opt-out for instruction materials that convey a normative message or subjects like sexuality and gender ideology is unconstitutional.
Right.
It also said the Board of Education of Montgomery County introduced a wide variety of LGBTQ plus inclusive storybooks into the elementary school curriculum, which is different from here. But the books and associated educational instructions provided to teachers were designed to disrupt children's thinking about sexuality and gender. It goes on. But then it also comes down to the talk about the California law also requires districts to honor opt-outs for non-religious reasons. And the California Supreme Court recognizes families' right to opt their child out of instruction to which they are conscientiously opposed from religious convictions or otherwise. Hardwork versus the Board of School Trustees of Fruit Ridge School District in 1921. In that case, parents objected to their children's participation in public schools' mandatory dance classes because it violated their religious beliefs. But then it goes on, and it says that the Supreme Court of California asserted would basically, the home life, so essential to safety and security of society and government, which regulates it, the very opposite effect of what the public school system is designed to accomplish. School districts must represent that children who attend school are not their children, they are their parents' children. It's not a school district's job to instill in children any particular ideology or worldview. In fact, that is prohibited by law. And parents' opt-out requests relating to matters in rearing and education that are not offensive to the moral well-being of the children must be accommodated by a public school. So we have that as well, that they're still saying that this is law. So why would we have something and have to name your religious convictions if California law also says that you don't have to have some religious, you just be opposed to it?
What'd you say?
1921, but it's still law.
So, but education code has been amended multiple, and it's limited the nature of what can be opted out. For example, prior to Mahmood, we had and we still do, we have the California Healthy Youth Act, which is a specific curriculum where parents can opt out for religious reasons. But then you also have the California Fair Act, which is the law that requires people of various underrepresented groups to ensure that they are taught and represented in state-approved curriculum. You can't opt out of Fair Act compliant curriculum. Well, at least you couldn't prior to Mahmood. You probably still can't now. But in any event, there are more things that the legislature has said you can't opt out of that are specifically dealt with in the education code. And
Well,
so,
can I add this one then too?
Sure.
Because we have SE versus Gray, Encinitas Unified School District. This is from 2025. Required 2 5th grade boys and their assigned kindergarten buddies to read and watch My Shadow is Pink and do an
Right.
activity, pressuring the kindergartens to choose a color to represent their own shadows, and they won. The plaintiff sought an injunction contending the district violated their children's rights under the First Amendment by
Correct.
compelling him to affirm a message he disagrees with that is contrary to his religious beliefs.
that case is more consistent with Mahmood.
Right. But then there was also one, and I can find it, I have it. There was also one too that talked about, it was about pronouns. It was basically that said that you don't have to require these kids to, have pronouns as well. And so that might not be a religious belief, it's just not be something that the kid is interested in. So do you think we should be, so my question would be
Sure.
this. Should we just hold off on this whole thing? Because I'm exactly with Todd. I was very confused as to what this was giving, why we were bringing this forward tonight, if we don't even know what the intention of Mahmood is. Because you have all these people out there saying that the 1921 case still stands,
Right.
and that you can opt out for non-religious beliefs. But then you're saying, well, maybe not.
But we have to remember that Mahmood deals specifically with First Amendment, freedom of religion, protections. And so we have to honor that. And there is an established constitutional test that we have to look at with respect to those things. California law related to non-religious First Amendment type stuff, that's a separate issue. We're talking about the religion cases right now. What happened in Harwick and stuff like that, that's probably been whittled away through the legislature over time because they've dealt with it in different ways. So keep that in mind because Hartwick's from 1921. So the presumption would be either that the legislature acted consistently with Hartwick or the legislature can pass laws that overturn court decisions. That's one of the powers the legislatures have as long as they are consistent with the state or federal constitution. So with respect to this case, our best reading of this case is that just like you stated, the Encinitas case, parents should be able to have the opportunity to opt their students out of those type of activities because they are squarely within kind of the coverage of Mahmood. They're the LGBTQ storybooks. Where it becomes murkier is these representational lessons about figures in history, for example, who may have been gay. Those are just areas where kids are learning about these individuals who happen to be gay. I don't think the court believes that that's an opt-outable situation because just the fact is that they were gay. It's not conveying some sort of message. For example, the books that were at issue in Mahmood, as Justice Alito said, they describe some sort of normative message about gay marriage, for example. But just presenting a fact that somebody is gay, it's not doing that. It's not conveying some sort of position on the issue, I guess.
The phrase normative message, I think, is the important piece.
Yeah.
And it's not in here, so.
Well, but again, so what we're looking at in terms of the district's opt-out policy is more along the lines of the Encinitas case or Mahmood. So to the extent that a teacher is going to pull a book off the shelf and it's consistent with one of the books in Mahmood, that would require an opt-out. But a lesson about an individual who happens to be gay
Harvey
would
Milk.
not. And so where the disagreement, I think, on the single one opt-out submitted at the beginning of the year versus the individual opt-outs, probably the disagreement in philosophy is the expectation. That one opt-out places a real heavy burden on the school district to try to decipher what the parent means with that, versus the school district providing notice and giving the parents an opportunity each individual time serves two functions. It allows the district to have a clear understanding of what the parent wants in that particular case, and it keeps the parent actively engaged on what's going on in the classroom. So that's why we think it's a more consistent reading to do those individual.
You're saying not the blanket, you're saying individual.
The individual.
Oh, yeah, no,
Correct.
that's absolutely
Right.
way better.
Right. Yes.
So I'm also reading too that any notices informing parents of their rights to religious opt-outs or associated forms must be content neutral and should not single out LGBTQ-related content or otherwise stigmatize LGBTQ identities. If schools elect to notify parents about general practices or of providing inclusive curriculum, they should do so holistically and not single out LGBTQ-related content.
And see,
But
there.
Mahmood is strictly LGBTQ plus, so what is that?
That's what LGBT.
So
I didn't want to. I'm going to blow your mind a little bit because the Supreme Court is difficult. Okay, so we're dealing with a case right now that's kind of about messaging and the potential for disrupting or offending somebody's personal religious beliefs. Right. Just last year in Kennedy versus Bremerton, Justice Gorsuch wrote, Mr. Kennedy's proposal, the coach, to pray quietly by himself on the field would have meant some people would have seen his religious exercise. Those close at hand might have heard him too. But learning how to tolerate speech or prayer of all kinds is part of learning how to live in a pluralistic society, a trait, character essential to a tolerant citizenry. The court has long recognized as well that secondary school students are mature enough to understand that a school does not endorse, let alone coerce them to participate in speech. Of course, some will take offense to certain forms of speech or prayer they are sure to encounter in a society where those activities enjoy such robust constitutional protection. So the point I bring in raising that up is just last year, the court said that as a society, we need to be tolerant of some things.
But that was
whether they
also
offend
deemed in his
our
private
beliefs,
life.
whether
So
they
that was
offend our-
deemed and it was private life. We're talking about the classroom.
But he was praying in front of
But
his
we
students.
deemed that
I
it was
understand
in
that,
his
but
private.
my point is they do sometimes talk out of both sides of their mouths.
I don't think that those don't correlate, though. Like,
Well,
if
we're
you're-
talking
if
about
you're-
inside
if
the
you're reading a
classroom.
book in the classroom is different than praying by yourself on a football field.
But with the whole team
Agreed?
watching is the argument. Of
So, yeah,
everybody
so there-
present and
well,
watching.
again, this is where-
we should find people,
Saying that's the
NFL
argument,
players
that's the
who
opposite.
pray
Right,
in
but
the
it's
end
totally
zone
different, is what
then.
I'm saying.
But right. So anyway, the point is, I bring that up because it just kind of shows the difficulty that not only you as a school board have in trying to figure out what to do with this, but where legal counsel has to figure out what to do with this, because Mahmood provides no guidance. The very term, the normative depiction, is problematic in my opinion. I think that this case is going to lead to substantially more litigation. This is not the end of the question. And I think what we've recommended and what your team has worked really hard on is probably the best thing at this time to keep the district out of potential legal liability and risk becoming the next Mahmood case. So that's where this recommendation is coming from. So if the schools will be provided direction as they come back. Parents will be provided more information, I'm assuming, especially as it relates to specific topics that will be coming up in the classroom or specific activities that will be being done in the classroom. And that will all be coming down the pike. So this is just kind of the procedural 10,000-foot level that we've established at this point.
I still don't think that it addresses the Mahmood at all. I just don't think it does.
In what way?
Well, because it doesn't talk about anything. I mean, it's very, very, just like generic. If you've kind of added a few extra lines, but I mean, like parents want, like I read this, and if I was a parent and I wasn't that involved, I'd go, what are they talking? This is just about religious things. It wouldn't say you have the opportunity to opt out. Well, what do they need to opt out of? I would want to know what my options are to opt out and like what the case law says. Like, I think Mahmood should be quoted in this thing, and it should have like, you know, what the intention of this was, and if there is going to be anything that we need to opt out of. Like, I think we should have a specific timeline, because I don't think we should be able to have, oh, on Friday, hey, this teacher wants to introduce this book on a Tuesday and give that person, I mean, we
Dr.
should
Young
have.
might be able to speak about the timeline.
I understand the timeline, but I'm just saying, this was just like, when I read this, I even sent it to a few other people. I go, what is this? And they go, we have no idea what they're even talking about. It doesn't even address Mahmood at all. And so it just seems like, I don't really know what we're doing with this thing, or like why we wouldn't just wait, like respect the Mahmood thing, because obviously like that's what we have to fall under, and give the parents the certain opt-out form. But what this addresses, it just says as it relates to Mahmood, but we don't even talk about Mahmood basically in this whole policy.
And is it not mentioned, like I said, because you can't specifically, you can't call out one specific topic, but also it says that public schools must also provide a welcoming and inclusive education for all students. This includes but not limited to the compliance of affirmative inclusive education as far as the FAIR Act, like you were saying, and ethics studies requirement. California law mandates that instructional materials accurately portray the cultural and racial diversity of our society, including the role of contributions of LGBTQ people, and ensures continued use of adopted curriculum even when containing inclusive and diverse perspectives.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Is that
In-
why
in
it's so
Ed Code-
general? Like, it has to be general,
In Ed
correct?
Code Section 220 prohibits discrimination against people based on their sex, gender, religion, national origin, all of those protected characteristics. So you're right to the extent that we're specifically calling out one particular group, it does.
And then if we mention Mahmood in it's technically calling out a group.
Well, and again, mentioning Mahmood.
Because the court case, if you
It's a
look
court
at the
case.
court case, though,
Mentioning
it's
Mahmood is
actually-
just.
That's what it's
That doesn't.
deemed.
That's not what the court is requiring. It's not that we mention Mahmood. It's that we provide an opt-out vehicle.
Right.
And
And that's what I'm saying, so
the
we don't
district
need
is
to
doing.
mention that case at all in the opt-out.
No,
That's why
I
it's
think
just
as
why
long
it's
as the
generic.
parents get a notice that says 2 weeks from now, during story time, the class will be reading whatever. Please fill out this form if you would like your child to have an alternative activity during that time.
Right, and that's why we've kept it generic, is what you're saying.
Correct.
We're not, yeah.
Right.
Can't we add the court case into the reference section? I notice it's not.
Down in the law section, sure, that makes sense. And I'm sure CSBA will do that. It's just that was something I overlooked at the time.
And then,
Okay,
so you were
and-
saying, I'm sorry, you were saying also the wording that was added in regarding encouraging and like your private time, that was added in by CSBA.
Correct.
Okay.
In 2024, in response to Kennedy.
Yeah, I'm just curious because, like you said, define private actions, like lunchtime, technically, a teacher's lunch is their own time, but it's because we're still on.
It's
like
a
if you can leave the
duty-free lunch
campus,
period,
right, you
but
can
there's
leave
still-
campus,
yeah.
you can, so that's what I'm saying, that's where the line, I think, gets blurred a little bit
Right.
with some people.
Well, and also too, in this Mahmood, it's the books and associated educational instructions provided to teachers. So it's not just about the books. It could be about flags. It could be about anything that was designed to disrupt children's thinking about sexuality and gender.
I think
So I mean, it could be
the-
a lot of things. So what happens if you do have a big LGBTQ flag in your classroom and someone says, "Hey, I need to opt out of this classroom because this is flown here daily and this is against my religious
But it
beliefs."
also mentions too that it's not to be used as book banning either. Like you can't.
flag's
go
a
in
book?
and- But I'm just saying,
Yeah, how
book
is a
banning
flag
is
a
kind
book?
of the same issue.
It's
You're
an
pulling
opt-out
things out
form.
of your.
It's-
But I'm saying that, but this
We
court
would-
case
Who's
can,
banning-
this court
Justice
case cannot be
Alito's
used
guidance
as,
and-
Who
to
is
start.
banning a
But this
book
court
if-
case cannot be used to start doing those kinds of things.
It's an
So
opt-out for
opening date.
parents. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why are we talking about flags then?
Because it
No,
says
because
in
of the-
here,
because of the private
association
time.
educational instructions provided to teachers were designed to disrupt children's thinking. So it's not just books, associated educational instructions. So you as a teacher know that there's props and all these educational instruction things. You know what
But
that is.
instruction is
It's
something you
not just
actually
books.
teach. It's not what's in your classroom. It's what you're actually providing as education
Material,
to
it
the
says
students.
instructional materials.
Materials.
So I think to the point of the Encinitas case, you're probably looking at associated.
That was under Mahmood.
Well, but I'm telling you from
Oh.
an application standpoint, the whatever was happening in Encinitas is probably covered under that umbrella.
Mhm.
And I think your team's done a good job of thinking about those potentials and where notices would need to be sent out, and giving teachers guidance about if it's not within the framework of the curriculum, you need to be working with your principal and deciding with that person whether an opt-out needs to be sent or not.
So what happens when somebody said, I don't want my third grader to have this flag in the classroom, and we need to opt out of this classroom?
We would have to follow Justice Alito's lead and take a fact-specific inquiry on that thing. So I can't.
Meaning they could fill out an opt-out form and say, this is my religion, this is the reason, the thing that's the problem is the flag, I opt out of this classroom?
But then it'd have to be investigated after that,
probably need to do a little bit of inquiry and see what else is going on in the classroom and make a decision at that point.
Well, but a flag is a representation of belief.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to be an automatic granting of an opt-out form. They have
Correct.
to investigate more into it.
And so if they say no, and then they go, okay, well, we'll take you to court, and then we get sued and we're the next Mahmood.
Exactly.
That's exactly what would happen. That's exactly why we needed that flag policy.
So back to this.
Yeah.
The opt-out form,
Mm-hmm.
we are saying that it is going to be more specific. The opt-out that was the blanket opt-out at registration is not what we're utilizing to one thing saying, I've read this 6141.2, like that's not.
All that
what
was
we're-
meant to do was to inform the parent that there is an opt-out form and to acknowledge that they've received information about it, and that's it.
Because the interpretation was, this is, like, I'm opting out, and I just hope that they do it right. So it was communicated poorly,
Yes.
is what you're saying.
That may be the case, but the purpose was not to create one opt-out form.
Got it. So
The purpose was to simply inform that this opt-out form exists.
yes, okay.
And that it may not have been communicated, it may be more, if they read the actual AR in detail, that it's going to be provided when specific topics
Sure.
come
No,
up.
it was confusing. Like
Sure.
that's bottom line. It just wasn't
Noted.
communicated well.
Yeah.
So the important thing to point out is that they check the box. They say, yes, I understand there's opt-out forms. But if there's an instance where, like Olivia, where there is an opportunity where we would be providing an opt-out form, it would come to the parent directly if there's an issue that they would potentially need an opt-out of.
Yes, the teacher would be providing notice to parents at least 2 weeks in advance that they have a planned activity or a curriculum unit coming up. And then they would provide the form to parents if they would like to opt them out. And they would need to receive it within a week of that instruction occurring so that they could conduct a fact-intensive review and then provide an alternative curriculum or activity.
The parent needs to receive it within a week, or the teacher needs to get it
Teacher
back?
needs it back so that we can conduct the
Okay.
fact-intensive review.
So then how soon are they getting the?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So they have 1 week
They
to
have
get it
1
back?
week to turn it in.
So 2 weeks before the assessment.
At least 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah, at least 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Okay.
And on the check, trustee Frazier referred to, that's the data confirmation process. You know, we're limited to 174 characters, I believe, to try to get that message across. But the handbook has all of the details, the AR as well. So all the details are there. It was difficult to make a concise statement that would perhaps satisfy the many elements of this challenging policy.
Yeah, just making it clear, like
Yeah.
that, it was just not clear.
It was not clear.
The intent was to bring awareness. Clarity probably fell by the wayside on that task.
So my question would be is if this is what we're doing going forward, could we just talk to the principals and obviously inform the parents and that this is a lot, and can we wait? And before, I mean, because talk about waiving a second read and all these things, but we don't even have really a lot of knowledge
I don't-
yet that's coming down.
Well, and we're not going to get anything more because the Supreme Court, number one, doesn't sit again until October.
Mhm.
And number two, this is what we've got. And so our recommendation was, especially because other school districts are starting next week. Your district starts a little later, so you do have more time than some other school districts have. But a lot of districts are having to roll this out right now. And so this is, I don't recommend waiting because you need a form in place. You need some procedure that's in place. Otherwise, you do have exposure. You do have risk. And so I don't recommend doing nothing. The form is there to fill in a gap. And obviously, just like anything else, it can be revisited over time if new law comes down or if new guidance comes down.
Okay, I have a couple questions.
Sure.
I know CSBA says they're coming out with their language starting sometime in August.
It's my
That-
understanding.
Yes. And you said that the AR can be independent of the board policy, correct?
Yes.
So it sounds like we can have a form in place without approving this as a second reading tonight. That's where I'm seeing
How
the
how
gap.
closely correlated is the AR with the policy? Like, what is our exposure if we do not change it tonight?
Well,
a
nothing.
vague question, I understand.
Nothing, but in terms of intent, the board policies tend to be broad policy statements, whereas the ARs are how those policies will be implemented. And so this policy is a broad statement about the district's respect for the rights of individuals to express their religious beliefs at school and to not, all of the things that are within Board Policy 6141.2. The AR that the district is using is an existing template CSBA AR with additional language post-Mahmood intended to carry forward the intent of Board Policy 6142.2, and then now with 2025 also carry forward the intent of Mahmood. So the AR includes language about this test that Justice Alito enunciated in the case, and it provides more information about the ability to opt out of curriculum as allowed by law and all that sort of stuff. So
Have we looked at anything other than the CSBA? Because the CSBA was their stuff was deemed unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. So are we looking around at anybody else's opinion, or are we just going off of the CSBA?
I'm not aware of anything being found to be unconstitutional by the Supreme Court regarding CSBA's policy.
If there's an additional update, I think it'd be good to know what that is, so.
Yeah. As more comes down the pike, I know Dr. Young gets regular updates from CSBA. I get regular updates. You will be informed. And all of this stuff is intended to put you in the best possible position to avoid legal challenges right away. And as with most legal advice, it adapts over time as the law changes. And I think that's consistent with what's being presented to you today.
The rest of the revision seems all right with me. I just was hoping to change the wording of the staff are not prohibited to staff are prohibited when acting in their professional capacity, just to make it more clear.
I would agree with that. I have a
Rather than private
recommendation.
capacity, like professional capacity sounds more, I think it's more
But I understand
definitive.
why it's private, because that football coach who is in his so-called private time.
But if the game's
teachers
over,
are-
like you said, and he's checking his cell phone like the case law said, then his professional capacity is done.
That's
And
why
that
it's
would
his
be-
private time.
So can I ask a question and suggest a different sentence for the first two sentences there in that paragraph? And maybe you even send it up the chain and see if CSBA would even agree to it, because it is confusing. So it says, staff shall not coerce students in prayer or other religious activities as part of their official duties. However, staff are not prohibited when acting in their private capacity from encouraging students' participation in personal prayer or other religious activities. So my suggestion would be, instead, staff and employees are prohibited when acting in their professional capacity from encouraging prayer or other religious activity to others. So instead of it being, calling out that it's not prohibited in their private capacity, but it is prohibited in their professional capacity.
But isn't that already clear?
That seems very clear to me.
I mean, I was saying that you
Not
can't.
the way it's worded.
No,
Not the
no,
way
I'm
it's
saying
worded.
like, in general, the restricted, free speech for teachers in professional capacity already says you can't do that.
And I would say in the first sentence of that paragraph, staff shall not coerce students in
Yeah.
prayer or other religious activities as part of their official duties.
Yeah.
So-
Official duties, yeah.
Correct. So the next sentence is the converse of that. that
Right.
In their
Private.
private duties, there's nothing that prohibits them from doing that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But what?
It doesn't make sense to me. It
I would
seems
say,
a
yeah,
little.
it's like, it
yeah.
sounds contradictory if you're not reading it carefully.
It would if it said
So
professional
prohibiting
twice,
them from acting
but it
in
doesn't.
their professional capacity from encouraging prayer would follow the
clarify it a little
same,
more.
yes, it would follow the same. Mhm.
All right. If the board's not adopting this tonight and bringing it back for a second reading, we can wordsmith it and bring it back.
Yeah, I'm just afraid, because like, with anything else, I know teachers are accused of doing a lot of things and I don't want this to blur the line either, and I also don't want to penalize a teacher either for, like what was said earlier, of like, they teach Sunday school, and they're at their Sunday school class, happen to have a student in their class. I don't want them to be penalized for that either, by just something that's worded differently, or somebody could take it the wrong way.
Well,
you know?
but I think what you just said is why that second sentence is important. That second sentence clearly states they are not prohibited when acting in their private capacity, teaching Sunday school on Sunday, from encouraging students' participation. So I actually, the more that we're talking and the more that I'm reading this,
blurry.
I like that it very clearly says in the first sentence, when you're professional, you can't do it. When you're private time, you can. The private time gets defined when somebody comes and fights about it by the attorneys, right? Realistically.
Unfortunately, that's
That's
probably
the
case.
reality of this.
Yeah.
So, okay, no,
But
I
I would
think,
say that the private time, if we're going to
If we're
set
gonna
a
define
standard
it,
at a board meeting,
yes.
the private time begins when you're no longer on
Correct.
duty for the school district.
when you're,
So could it
let
say
me
when you're not,
put
not in your professional capacity?
an
I don't know.
example,
It's like,
an
it's
example.
Well, no, not, I spoke twice, but like, it has, I
Robin,
don't know,
I
it
like
just
it.
sounds really, very vague. Like, it's just up for interpretation.
So I have an example. So there's a teacher that teaches Sunday school on the weekend, has a student in the classroom that is also at Sunday school, and the child comes up and starts talking about what they're going to be doing over the weekend and what's happening in Sunday school. That teacher is on their own time, but maybe now it's lunch and the student comes up. So I think clarifying it that it's prohibited when you're in professional time, in this more clear language, where they're prohibited when acting in their professional capacity from encouraging prayer or other religious activities to others. So it's specific about being in your professional setting versus a private setting. Private setting, what they do in their private setting, it's not,
Private
it's
setting
not.
could be like a bathroom.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
anywhere
you can do
else,
that,
but
yeah.
when we're talking about in the professional setting, in a professional environment, it should be called out specifically that that's prohibited. And I just think that second language is, the second sentence is not clear.
I hear you and we can work with it, but I think because there's not necessarily a bright line between those things, that it's
going to be that way.
It's going to be challenging. Because
It's going to be
remember,
that way.
the Kennedy versus Bremerton case kind of fell on this finite gap in time between when the football game ended and perhaps when he was supposed to rouse the team to take him back to the
Yeah, it
locker
could
room.
have been 5 minutes
That-
off.
It could have been less than that.
Yep.
And so I don't know that there's a bright line to put into a rule.
Yeah, and also Kennedy versus Bremerton, too, was also talking about his halftime speeches as well, not just what he did after the game. So technically, halftime would be during his professional capacity.
I think the first sentence, calling out official duties, and the second sentence, calling out private capacity, is important to be there, as opposed to talking about professional twice, because it's redundant.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, one more thing. In the second paragraph, towards the end,
Yep.
it says here, not, Staff members shall be highly sensitive to their obligations not to interfere with the religious development of any student in whatever tradition the student, could we put also like the family or parent guardians, embrace and treat all religion and religious convictions, including non-belief, with fairness and respect.
So that
Second paragraph.
that might not be something that the teacher knows. And so I think the intent is to just focus on the teacher-student relationship and ensure that the teacher's not doing anything in the classroom that, let's say we have a Muslim student in the classroom that has a religious accommodation to go pray during the school day. The student's parents may not be Muslim. So I don't know that we want to put that in there, but I'm happy to wordsmith it also and put something in there if that's the board's desire.
Just to go along with that too then. So then if it's a student teacher, then why is it on the opt-out form when the questions are asked, it's asking about the families, like religious beliefs?
So that goes back to Yoder, the case in Wisconsin.
Rather than the students' religious beliefs.
And
yeah.
I'm also thinking of Mahmood because it's the parents that are opting him out.
Correct, which is
not the
yeah.
student. So that's why I feel like you need to include, parents or guardian, family, something like that, because it is.
I mean, we could put like to the extent known, because
Yeah.
we may not.
Yeah, we might not know, but I just think the parents are the ones that are opting out. Students are not. And when they're young and elementary, they might not understand their religion completely or those things. So, and as we're sending out opt-out forms, we want to be respectful to everybody. So that's why I was thinking of adding that.
The only thing about that is depending on the engagement of the parents, that may not be possible, which means are we holding the teachers to a standard that they cannot for
That's
sure
why it's an
know?
R. The student or family.
Our family?
Or
family.
Or family.
Question for Robbins, are we covered without it? Because this is all about litigation coverage is really what this is about.
I think as long as you're complying with the notice and opt-out provisions, you're in good shape.
And the AR, I was reading through the ARs. The AR's very clear if you read the AR. So.
Yeah. So the board policy would be more from a policy perspective that we don't want to interfere with the religious development of any student or beliefs of parents/family. I'm just putting that in as a placeholder for the board president. How that happens is going to be carried out by the AR. And that's why I said I think that we'd be covered even without this language if we're complying with the notice and opt-out.
Because the practice of what we're doing is more important legally than the board policy. The board policy is important. However, the AR and following the AR is the important piece.
Yes.
Legally speaking. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm just being clear here. Mahmood is not just about books. It's about notifying parents in advance of instruction on gender, gender expression, gender identity, and LGBTQ inclusive topics.
Correct. Which is like already covered by California Healthy Youth Act. And
Right.
then to the extent that it is a book or some other, within the curriculum, we identified areas that may need to be opt-out. And there's not a ton of them, but there are some, and that would fall under that umbrella.
But
So-
teachers asking for their pronouns or asking for their gender identity, things like that, that's not allowed under Mahmood. Are we correct?
That's not covered under Mahmood, but it is a topic of gender identity, so it is probably something that would run afoul of Mahmood if a notice and opt-out wasn't given, if a teacher was deciding to do that.
Okay. And it happened to one of my kids, and so that's why I'm asking, and he was not happy about it, and there was no opt-out, parents didn't know about it, and he didn't want to write an essay about what his pronouns were and what his gender identity was. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't
it is
know
happening.
What class whether that was a California Healthy Youth Act type
It wasn't, it was an
curriculum or-
English, it was a language arts class.
Okay.
So it's happening, and so that's why I think parents need to know what the expectations are.
Okay, just for clarification, do you guys want the timeline in there, or are you good with it being in the AR? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was brought up, so I'm just trying to make sure we're catching all of our requests. Yes. So are, you guys want him to fix these things? September 9th is our next regular board meeting. We do have a meeting on the 26th.
But that's
to-
not for this.
That's superintendent.
So, what do you recommend, Todd?
Well, like I said, what
Strictly
we
legally,
presented,
yeah.
what we presented here is what we recommend, but if you want it wordsmith, we can do that.
So we're not legally compromised with
The current?
if this was not approved tonight, because we have the AR in place and we have the opt-out option. So unless you say otherwise, Todd, if the board chooses to wait until September or call a special, if you want to do it before school
Oh, good
starts.
gosh. Don't do it,
No.
Marilyn.
No, then
No.
September, and at which time we could have it wordsmith. Of course, there's no guarantee that's going to be accepted at that time either, right? So at some point, it's still first reading.
Can we accept it as is, and then, like you said, if anything changes coming up, we can amend it?
Yeah,
you
that's the way
when
I'd
it comes
wanna
up
go.
3-4 months down the road?
Yeah.
Right, we do that anyway, because certainly when they update it, or as we get more information or more guidance from the state or county, then we would, of course, bring that back to the board to update that policy.
I think it's prudent to have something in place. If it needs to change, it needs to change. But I think it's prudent, just for your purposes as a board, to have something in place that at least establishes a baseline procedure.
And Dr. Musarino, can we send out a thing to parents about the Mahmood case and talk to them about that you will have opt-out options for instruction on gender, gender expression, gender identity, and LGBTQ plus inclusive topics? So when these parents are getting the opt-out, they're like, what is this for? That this is like we're,
Yeah,
you know,
clearly
because
state that.
because I've had so many phone calls and they go, what are they talking about? And then I say, oh, it's the Mahmood thing and so on and so forth, and you should be able to opt out throughout the year. Like, they're very confused as to what it is, and so I think it's something that they should know we're on top of and that they have the opt-out option.
All right, so separate from the handbook, you mean just as separate?
Like just as, and send an email just to
Separate.
clarify, this is what happened, this is what came down,
Mm-hmm.
and throughout the year, if they're presenting any of this, you will have, you know, dealing with any of those topics we just talked about, you'll have the, you know, you can opt out.
Sure. So should the board choose to direct me to do that, we'd be happy to put that together.
I think the clarification would be helpful for parents.
Is
Just to
that-
make sure that they understand that that wasn't the opt-out.
That you,
There's more information. Like sharing the AR. I think
This
would be the thing.
this is the thing, it was gender expression, all the things that they weren't clear with, all these things, and if it's going to be presented in a classroom, you'll have an opt-out form, and it will come to you 2 weeks in advance.
Right.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
my concern is, it just says, while Mahmood involves LGBTQ plus inclusive storybooks, court decision is not limited to LGBTQ inclusive content. Therefore, the school leaders should aim to craft general religious accommodation opt-out process that do not focus on LGBTQ content, nor should they silo LGBTQ content within the curriculum. But I'm just saying, you're not supposed to technically say, because of the FAIR Act, that it's like we're doing this because of Mahmood and this is the content that we're targeting.
But
So
Chia,
is that, like,
but
legally?
the Healthy Youth
we could
Act
also
and all
be-
that, they allow the opt-out. It's clearly
But we
talks
can't,
about
like,
the
just say this
LGBTQ.
opt-out
And we already
for
have
this.
that.
Can't we
We
just?
already
I
have
understand. I was
opt-out.
explaining to her that actually says that that's the reasons you can opt out. So these
No,
are the
but if we're
reasons
worried
you
about
can opt out in
lawsuits and people
Mahmood.
suing for X,
Then-
Y, and
then
Z,
people
then
would have
this
been
is something we could be
then
sued
they
for
would have
too,
been
if we
sued
specifically
of-
say this opt-out form is for
Then
because of
then we'd
LGBTQ
already be
content.
sued because we already do this. We'd already been sued for all the opt-outs that are
Are you-
done in
what
our
are you reading
section.
from?
Opt-out process.
What are you reading
the
from,
process
Tricia?
should not focus on
What are you reading
LGBTQ.
from?
It is the ACLU, California Equality National Youth Center for Public Counsel, and it's the legal FAQs
Got it.
about Mahmood and Taylor.
Okay.
Okay. I think we should relook at, this is my opinion, we should relook at how it is in the parent notebook. And if it's not clear, we should just say, more information is coming. We don't have to go into all the things, but the parents will be receiving additional information for opting out for religious purposes. And
So
just-
you don't want them to explain Mahmood and the reasons that you can opt out, so they're not fully aware of what this
Isn't it
they're
in the
talking
handbook?
about.
Isn't it
It is in
stated
the handbook.
It is in
So
the
it's in the handbook. If they
handbook.
read the handbook,
And they
it'll say
can-
that.
And you can
Mahmood
put-
is in the handbook?
The
opt-out
opt-out
is in the handbook.
reasons to
Mahmood
opt
is in the
out.
Mahmood is in the handbook.
Yeah, Mahmood's reference in the handbook.
Reference and is explained. Because if I'm looking at a mood and I don't have an explanation as to what this is about,
But if you're a parent who has that in their mind, if that's what they're looking for, they're going to know either what it's about or they'll research what it's
But they
about.
could be a lead
If they don't have
to
anything
it.
that they're
so all
worried
of the
about, then
parents
they're not
have
gonna-
researched,
No, I'm saying if they were
capabilities and.
interest- Yeah.
Well, they should.
Yeah, they should, and it's been on the
Oh,
news.
really? They should? All of our parents should have that access.
Yes,
All of
they
our
have
parents.
access to
All of
Mahmood.
our
They can go
parents.
look at it there. And
All of our parents
yes.
have computers and cell phones, and they have all of access to go
Well,
look all
how
this
else
stuff
are you
up.
going
Yeah.
to give them the information?
And
Are
how
you
are they gonna
talking
get the
about an
handbook, and how are
email
they
or a
gonna-
text?
How are they going to get
Okay.
the handbook and even register their child if they have no access to computers
Hey,
or
I'm
phones
just
or anything
saying,
like
not
that?
everybody in our district is wealthy and has cell phones at their fingertips
But they
at all
register their
times.
children on.
Yeah, maybe they went to the
so they
library.
yeah, and then they can look up the handbook at the library
Okay.
on that computer and access the information they need.
All right.
Students can do that, parents can do that, everybody.
Do you guys have any further questions for the board for clarification?
Can you send out that religious exemption form instruction section of the handbook just as a quotation in the email? Because it does call out Mahmood.
Maybe they
Farris.
don't have a computer to read it.
Okay, so let's not communicate with them. Okay, Carrie. I'm just saying, if it's in the handbook, then why wouldn't we be okay putting it in an email?
Mm-hmm.
Just put it, make it easy, because people are
It
confused.
sounds like you're trying to. It sounds like you're trying to hide.
No, not
things
at
that they
all.
can
I'm
opt
just
out on.
trying
That's
to-
exactly what it sounds like.
No, it
just
just
not trying to
sounds like
single
you're
out
trying to,
anybody.
yes, single out.
Oh, single out. You know what? The Healthy
you
Youth
know what?
Act, all of these things have singled out the LGBTQ opt-out things on all kinds of gender, exactly what Mahmood talks about. So I'm not singling out anything that hasn't been singled out for years that has been a debate in California and the United States. So don't even try to go there on that one.
And again, if if parents are interested in debating that and have an issue with that, they are educated in that sense, that they know that already.
How do you know what parents are educated and what are not? That's so many assumptions. Not everyone is educated on all these things.
And if they had an interest in it, they would become educated. Just like if you have an
Oh
interest on
my-
how to help your child in
That's a-
homework.
that's a huge
if you're
assumption.
So can we,
That's a huge
I would like
assumption.
to
Look into it or
recommend
ask about it. Ask
that we
somebody
add
about
the
it.
paragraph that's in the handbook, because it's there, it's very easy, just add it as a quote in the email so that it's clear, so that parents don't have questions. I think that would be great. And I think it'd be good, transparent communication to our people.
Do you have
So the
any-
board, if the board wants to direct me to follow through on that, then of course I'm happy to do that.
I just want there to be clarity. I just don't want people
Yes.
to have made a checkbook and think that they have opted out. And then they're getting these notices from their teachers, and then they're like, well, I don't have to do that because I already did it. I just want it to be clear.
Can we then just clarify that this opt-out form is, you acknowledge that there may be future opt-out forms to look for? If any topic
There's going to
comes
be
up?
future opt-out forms, but it won't talk about what they're opting out of.
If
That'll
you
just come at a later date.
Like we just talked about, it's in the handbook. The paragraph is in the handbook on our website. I'm looking at it right now. It calls out all of the things that we're talking about. Just take the paragraph, quote it, put it in an email, and it's clear for everybody. It's in the handbook, so it's not like we're not saying it. It's very simple. And I think Marilyn's point is great, saying that if people did check it and think, well, I'm covered, so I don't have to worry about it, they're not watching for it and they're not paying attention. I think it's a good clarification. It links the AR right there. I think it's great.
Yeah, so remember this all happened over the course of the last few weeks, and of course, principals just returned on Monday, and we were able to get a handful of principals to come back sooner to prepare for this and get the AR going under Dr. Young's leadership. So we certainly have more work to do, as Mr. Robbins alluded to continue this process as we move forward. So if it's the board's direction for us to communicate it, be it through principals perhaps, or through the superintendent's office, however, we believe would be in the best interest of our organization. And of course, giving me that direction, and we'll move forward.
I would like communication to go out to the parents about this, so they're not
I just think
confused
there
and don't
needs
think they
to
haven't
be
opted
some
out.
clarity. I think there needs to be some clarity. They need to know what they should be looking for, if they're interested or not interested, and how that will roll out. So I'm good with that. And I know that this was all, this is a lot of things that have taken place in a very short amount of time, and I'm just really appreciative to the staff and to Mr. Robbins for all the work they've done on this. We haven't gotten any clear direction. I mean, this is the memo from the county, and, it just says, don't be passive, but you're gonna have to make some changes. But there's no direction from the county. There's really no direction from CSBA. It's all, and you guys are making the best choices in the limited time and trying to solve this problem that I know is going to end up back in court. It's going to be changed probably 3 times in a year and a half or less. And, so all we can do is make the best decisions. And so I think clarity to our families is what I would like to see. And, even we can say that, this is still a work in progress. We can just be transparent. This is not perfect. We know it's not. The county lists, I think, 4 other board policies that we're going to have to adapt and change. This is just one. So there's definitely more to come on this.
I would also encourage us to be very generous with our offerings of opt-outs. If there's any question, offer the opt-out. Unless they want to opt out of addition and subtraction, which is ridiculous, although some people might try it. Let's be generous in that so that parents feel like they have as much, and that may be intensive, I understand that. But as best as we can, I'd like to make sure that we're transparent in all that, so that'd be good.
Okay, do we need to vote on the first reading? Okay. So this is for the first reading, because we did not, in our motion, waive the second reading. So we don't have to amend anything. So all in favor?
Wait, this is to vote for the way it is, right?
Right, and this is just a first reading.
So this won't be policy.
This will not be policy, because we didn't,
So I can make a substantive motion then.
no, because well, unless you want to make it,
Can I make a substantive motion to, or
Motion's already
substitute,
here.
sorry. We were talking about substantive back there. Substitute motion to approve this policy as
And
final
waive
reading,
the
waive the
second
second reading, yeah.
Somebody seconds it and the board agrees to accept the substitute motion and then vote on the substitute.
And then,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll vote to accept the substitute motion.
Okay, so you have a second. So now the vote right now is not to approve Mr. Frazier's motion. It's a procedural motion, not a substantive motion. So are you agreeing to accept his substitute motion in place of the original motion?
Yes, I agree.
That's what the vote is.
Yes.
so all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
I tried,
Let's
Todd.
bring it back for a second.
Yeah.
Let's get off my teeth.
I want a second look at it. Okay, oh, I forgot.
Wait, we
Ariana?
need
No, we
to
need to
vote
vote.
on the original
Yeah,
motion
yeah.
still.
Ariana, did you want to vote on the substitute motion?
You can
What,
abstain if
in
you don't. know.
favor or wait for a second reading? Wait for the second, okay.
So we need to make sure we vote on the original motion.
Okay, so this is for a first reading only.
First
Okay.
reading. First reading only.
Just to accept the first reading.
It's just accept the
So we're
first.
accepting.
Great reading it the first time, guys.
We're accepting Todd's. Okay.
Not,
Yeah.
but it doesn't become policy.
It doesn't do
It's-
anything.
It doesn't,
Your
Okay.
board
Got
policies
it.
require a first reading and a second reading in order to adopt
Yeah.
new board policies.
It's a non-vote vote.
and we didn't waive it, so,
We tried to waive it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, can we move
Okay, let's
on?
move
Tried
on.
to
All
save
in
a little
favor?
money.
Aye.
And time.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so motion carries 5-0 with an aye from our student board member. Okay. We are on to 16.1, Constitution Day. Have a motion?
I'll
Make a
make a
res-
motion that we approve resolution, 2506 Constitution Day Education Program for K-12 on or around September 17th, 2025.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Buck, a second by Mrs. Blades, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Young.
Okay, good evening. Both federal and state laws require districts to hold commemorative exercises for U.S. Constitution Day each year on or near September 17th. Districts shall hold an educational program for students in grades K through 12 pertaining to the United States Constitution. Our district recognizes activities that instill pride in our country, and those schools include exercises and instruction on the purpose, meaning, and importance of the Constitution of the United States. This is an annual resolution and annual practice amongst our schools.
I just had a question. I was asking around about this, and a lot of people have said that they don't do this, and it's not done consistently at all the schools. And I know that federal funding can be pulled if you receive Title IX funding and you don't do this type of thing. They can actually pull your funding. So what are we doing to ensure that each and every school across the district is doing Constitution Day programs or honoring it and abiding by the law?
Sure. In the board update last week, we provided a list of the activities that each principal it provides input on and reviews and confirms that this is what they plan to do each year. And so we can be sure to emphasize it with the principals this year, that it's not just a matter of putting it onto this list and saying that they're doing it, but they need to ensure that it's something that is being done at in their schools.
Okay, thank you.
And I remember getting this list multiple years in a row, and this is always something that happens, and they always have something that they're doing. So, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries 5-0 with an aye from our student board member. Okay, we're to the consent calendar. Actions proposed for the consent calendar. Items are consistent with approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. The trustees receive board agenda backup information in advance of scheduled meetings and are prepared to vote with the knowledge of the block vote items. Is there any items that anyone wants to pull? Mark this in the calendar. Okay. I need a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a
Say no to field
motion.
trips.
That's right.
Who says no to field trips?
That's right.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Buck and a second by Mr. Frazier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And our student board member? Aye. Mark this date. Dr. Matthews would be so jealous at this moment. I'm just saying. Okay, motion carries. Okay, so now we are at the student attendance calendar. So I'm going to turn the time over to Mrs. Mendoza.
Great, thank you. So I think we sent you everything that that you all had asked for in the last board meeting. So you have a 26-27 calendar that we took back 1.5 weeks early. And then we still place that September date. We put it to make a 4-day weekend on February 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. So that gave us 85 instructional days to 95. We couldn't get them together. And then we also gave you a 1-week early calendar, which we already had, and that has 82 instructional days first semester and 98 instructional days second semester. And then we also then did, it was a suggestion that if we went back 1 week this year, could we go back 2 weeks in the 27-28 school year? So I also provided that for you. And that starts, that has us starting on August 9th and ending May 22nd.
What are the first trimester, second trimester dates, or numbers of days on those?
It's 88 and 92.
I like the week and a half, like, yeah. And I was looking at the 2-week one, but school ending on the 22nd of May just feels so early.
I know.
So, I mean, and
It's
starting.
nice, the semester.
Do you want me to give you 3 weeks off at Christmas and add another week?
No.
How about we do graduations like that when it's ending on a Monday?
No, that's what I was saying. I with the week and a half being Thursday, that's the other thing I thought about. That the week and a half puts it on a Thursday for last day of school, starting on a Wednesday, middle of August. I mean, I kind of like that one.
Yeah,
The week and a half.
The week and a half is my favorite, too.
yeah.
It's
We
not
finished
even,
before
but it's way
Memorial
closer.
Day.
Yeah.
We are done.
So then you're clear that it starts on, school starts on August 12th,
12th.
Correct.
middle of the week.
Because actually, that works, it's not a 4-day weekend, it's not 3 days, and then there's
Okay,
a 4-day
okay.
weekend, and then, so it's gonna be just a regular weekend, and then you would come back, so it's not as dramatic.
Okay, okay.
And then there's just the 10 days difference, which really puts us in
Yeah.
line with the other districts in our area when you.
First and
look-
second
Right.
trimester.
When
yeah.
you look
Right.
at them and their differences.
Right.
We're right there.
I like the week and a half. The 2 week, the one that's the 27, 28, although I like the fact that it's moving a little earlier. Having the last day on a Monday is weird with graduations, and we usually do them 2 days in a row. And so
And that's, the week and a half is with a 3-day Memorial holiday, right? It's just I'm not Memorial, Labor Day. Correct.
No,
September.
no,
No.
no, Labor Day's still just
Just
the
the one.
same.
Just
same
the
way.
one day, that's what I mean,
Yeah,
the
but I-
one day.
But I put
Friday's
that, I put
3-day
that
weekend, yes,
September
3-day weekend.
holiday,
Okay.
usually, I put the
Go back.
September holiday on February 12th.
Monday.
So we've got 12, 13, 14, 15 off, so we got a 4-day.
Weekend
the
there
s-
instead
the
of
second-
September.
The second holiday weekend in February is a 4-day.
That's instead of September being a 4-day.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Yeah, I like that.
It's actually a 3-day because they have the Monday off the 8th and then they only are.
A 3-day week.
A 3-day
three-day
week,
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, their
Mrs.
elementary,
Blair, I haven't heard
the
from you.
elementaries have a 4-day,
Yeah.
right? It would only be the elementaries having that 8th off, right? The grading day, or no, I'm sorry, I'm writing the
No,
wrong.
everybody
writing the
has
wrong
it off.
day.
Everybody would have.
Everybody
February
has it
12th.
off.
I like a week and a half. I think.
Mrs. Blade, what do you like?
I like whatever is in the middle, because after last board meeting, I got inundated with furious parents, especially in elementary school and middle school.
Can you turn your mic on?
Regarding?
Dang it, you couldn't hear me? I got messages from furious parents in elementary and middle school that they didn't want anything to change. They understand about the high school, but they said, why are we always, so they're upset about it. So I think, just to be fair, we should do something that's just in the middle of all this, and it's kind of like, because if we go too far, I think we're really going to tick off our elementary and our middle school parents. But then if, we don't do enough, we're going to be stuck because we still get the high school parents
Yeah.
asking. So, I think we just have to find, if we're going to do this, if it's the board's will to do this, I think we have to do somewhere in the middle.
Mrs. Blade, you meant starting, in regards to starting earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That's what.
Yeah, because
okay.
a lot of, I mean, there's districts too in Orange County, you know, and even in LA County, a lot of them have been saying that the parents want to return, you know, to the previous schedules. They're not happy with, you know, with getting out in May and then going back, you know, so early in August. So there is kind of the sentiment that people want to return to schedules like ours, like they're jealous of our schedules. So I see it both ways. I mean, all of my kids were fall athletes, so I never had summer, really, you know, for years, because they were back in July for football or water polo, whatever it was they were playing. But I do understand that, you know, the other parents that don't have fall sports or an AP kid, you know, a lot of times they like that later start. And, you know, Havasu is absolutely deserted in, you know, in August, mid-August. I mean, so I get it all. So I understand all sides. And I think we should just try to do, you know, have like a happy medium where we just meet everybody kind of in the middle.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with a teacher that we got onto talking about this, and he said, you know, when you guys first started talking about this, I don't know, 3 years ago or whatever, the statement that he's reminding me, I didn't remember I said this, but it sounds like something I would say. He said, you said at some point we just have to rip the Band-Aid off, and so you just got to do it. And there are going to be people that are going to be upset, absolutely. I don't want to go the 2 weeks. I think that's too much. I really like the week and a half, and it really does, it rips the Band-Aid off. We got to do it, and I think it makes sense. I apologize to all the elementary parents that are not going to have the longer summer. I'm sorry. And middle school too.
Can I then just come back in my weekly update with 27-28 calendar that does just 1.5 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it with
I
the
think
1.5.
we
Okay.
want to push it farther back or change
Okay.
it after this one.
And will you make sure, as we're looking at the last week of school, what that might look like with graduation, knowing that we typically do at least 2 days that in the same week. So wherever that might fall.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because with the week and a half, it's a Thursday, right? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
but the following year.
I know it's going to be a short
Where
week,
it
but could we
lands on the
even,
following year. Okay.
Okay.
could we even just push it back?
We need at least 2 or maybe 3 days because we have so many to do that week.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Buck, can you repeat your last question?
I just mentioned that as you're looking at the out year, when you're looking at the graduation week, we usually have 2 to 3 days, at least 2 to 3 days there for graduations with all the high schools.
Okay.
So we don't want to split that and only have like Monday and Tuesday, 'cause that might be.
I get it.
For instance, like just the way that it shows, because it's the 2 weeks on the 27, 28, it shows starting the 9th and ending the 9th of August and ending the 22nd of May. If you made it like the previous, like the 26, 27, where we started on the 11th of August, and
go to
then
the 25th.
and then
Yeah, I'm
ended the
thinking one
25th
day.
of
Yeah, can we
May.
squish it one day? Yeah.
So
I don't know where that puts us.
The one I'm looking at, the 26, 27, 1.5 weeks early.
Uh-huh.
I see that you've got 3 days in May.
Yes.
Right.
She's
But
talking about
the out
27,
year.
28.
Oh, 27, 28,
Yeah.
okay.
If you just back it up a day, I think that would help us.
That we have, okay, all right. Good.
2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
We're making progress.
Ending on a Thursday would be ideal.
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah,
Ending on a
Thursday.
Thursday would be ideal.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I hate ChatGPT.
Thank you.
No. You guys are all gonna be like wandering around like robots, and I'm gonna be on it.
Okay, any other clarifying questions before we move to the?
Thank you for all
the
your
next
work,
one?
Yolanda. That's
Oh,
great.
no
Thank
problem.
you.
Thank you. Okay, so now it's communications with the board. So we'll start with you, Mrs. Blades.
All right, thank you. So once again, it's summertime, so there's not a whole lot going on. I was gonna just recently, I think a day or two ago, Sammy Sanchez from Esperanza High School won the World Wrestling Championship. I think he's only going to be a sophomore now. He's probably one of the best wrestlers we've ever had in the history of our school district. So I want to say male. We have, yes, male athletes, yes.
Actually, she was my cousin, our cousin, so.
So congratulations to Sammy Sanchez. I wanted to just make sure too that I had like a disturbing report come to me. And we don't allow outside entities to use our students and our facilities to make videos for political organizations and to do things like that, correct? Okay. Okay, so I'll have to have a meeting with you, Dr. Musarino, and probably you, Yolanda, about some of the things that have been coming to my desk. I just wanted to ensure before I waste anybody's time, but I was a little concerned about, people being allowed to use basically taxpayer dollars, for our students and our teachers and making productions and things for outside entities.
Right, okay,
So-
I will follow up with you.
Thank you. There's been, some things going on. And so another question, I kind of just have a question and answer session for tonight. So AB 495 is a huge topic right now. Everybody's talking about it, and it's the, basically the taking of, the parental rights things where someone else can just sign away. So people are asking, how does that happen with our parental notification policy in place? Can somebody under this law, maybe Todd, I don't know if Todd knows about this, Todd Robbins, but they're saying that these kids can, a teacher can take over, for a parent, like just signing away the waivers. But I also was going to ask too, because what I'm really confused about is in Temecula Valley, I think it was, they're saying that there's a caregiver affidavit already. Do we have a caregiver affidavit in our district? Does anybody know? Where it says frequently parents find that they need someone else, often a grandparent or other family member, to care for and make decisions for their children, but don't want to establish a formal guardianship. And so I know that Temecula Valley has one. Do we have one here?
I'm sure we do.
Yes, we have one.
must,
Okay. So that was kind of the question that's now floating around is, do we already have that in place? And so this has been in place for a long time. And so I guess the question now is, why is Sacramento going further with this if we've already have all these things in place, and what's different about that? So they're asking, if we already have this affidavit in place, what would Sacramento's, what they're trying to push, if that passes, what would be the difference in, and how we react as a school district? And so, of course, when that question was asked, I really wasn't sure if we had these affidavits already. And so it seems like Sacramento's trying to broaden what, who can take control of your kids. But so that's kind of the question, is like,
Okay.
now we have these affidavits that say certain people, but like, would the Sacramento one be, say, can teachers take possession of your kids? Can things
Okay.
like that happen? So I guess what people are asking for is the clarity, because people are finding out that these affidavits already exist.
Okay, we'll
So that was a
investigate,
question.
and we'll put that in the board report.
Okay, perfect. So that would be helpful. And yeah, so I think that's it. Just Sammy Sanchez, that was the question that came up. The calendar was coming up, and they were, I've already gotten a couple text messages I've seen pop up that are no, but like I say, you can't make everybody happy. And yeah, I think that's it. We've been having quite a summer. It's been very busy. Been able to take some vacations and go off the grid, which I've been very, very happy about. So I've been a little remiss on, answering some emails. I've been, like maybe 7 to 10 days late sometimes, but it's been good. It's been restful getting one kid off to college, and so yeah, it's been kind of a summer of change for me. But I'm excited that everybody is coming back to school, and I drive by, Yorba High School. I see all the football players. I see the flag football teams. I see everybody out there in their sports, and I'm glad it's just not super hot for them yet. And hopefully it stays this way, knock on wood. But yeah, so looking forward to seeing everybody back at school, and just the start of fall and all the fall sports. Looking forward to it.
Just for clarification, do you want me to be ready to speak on AB 495 at the next board meeting?
I just wanted to know, I think people just need to know.
I can
because-
give you a brief answer, but I can expand on it.
Okay,
But
'cause
my
the
understanding, it's about the immigration situation
Mhm.
and preparing for contingencies where kids parents may no longer be accessible to them. And so the law requires the district to exhaust emergency contact procedures that exist, and then to exhaust any existing caregivers affidavits, and then fall onto the non-family member, extended family person who would have the ability to come care for the child whose parents are no longer available.
Okay, so
So it's
what's
it's a response to immigration.
Oh,
So it's not a remove children from the school, it's make sure that the child who's now been abandoned.
Correct.
It's the
has-
basic social service
Yes.
ladder
But
of
we can
custody.
provide more information, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
address the question
Okay.
tonight.
Because
briefly.
I, like I said, I didn't know the affidavits even existed, that we had these already. And so
Oh,
then
yeah,
the
that's been in place.
question was, well, what is the difference? And how does the school district respond? And is it the school districts who are, like the ones up in Sacramento, is it the school district who's in charge of finding these people now? Or is this a social service issue? Like, where's the,
Yeah, we can provide more information, but it's a response
you.
to the immigration situation.
perfect.
I'll
Sounds
follow
good.
up with you and we'll write to that
Perfect,
in the
thank you.
update.
Because that one, kind of just, the clarification, I said, I have no idea. Thank you.
Just want to say happy summer to everyone. I hope everybody is ending their summer on a good note and a good foot. It's been exciting to drive by the schools, a lot of the schools, and see activities still going on. Like I said, summer practices, summer league programs, and it seems almost like other than the 2-week dead period, that school never stopped. So I know everybody at the district's been working hard, and teachers have been preparing for the new year. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, and I hope everybody had a great summer. I'm looking forward to coming back to this next year. I know every year seems like PWEL USD just elevates expectations and accomplishments. So I can't wait to see what this next year brings to all of our students, staff, and cabinet and everybody else. So I'm just excited, like I said, to see the new year, and can't wait to get started on all the new things coming up. So yeah, happy summer and welcome back to school, since we won't be back till September.
I echo everything you both said. I think everything. And I would also like to commend to all of us for not pulling a consent item. Oh, hallelujah. And I'm not going to talk much longer because I think we're all in the same boat. We've all been finishing our summers. I've got seniors, and they're going to their senior school, whatever the thing is where they go sign the papers and do the thing before school, whatever the name of that is. Thank you. Registration. See, I'm gonna summer brain still. But yeah, it's pretty wild. So you're getting rid of one, and well, yeah, they're the last one's out. I've got 2 left, so it's pretty crazy. But school's coming, and yeah, it's gonna be a good year. Thank you.
Well, for North Orange County ROP, we've already begun. We had an in-service this week where all the teachers came together at the district office and did a little rally and activities to kick off the new year. The theme this year is leveling up and putting excellence in everything that everybody does, in every capacity to elevate what's happening in the school districts and what's happening with all of the ROP coursework. This last year, we had it as ROP, had an amazing year. They received their 6-year WASC accreditation. They have never received anything other than a 6-year WASC accreditation, so kudos to them. And their budget for 2024, 2025 was a balanced budget. So proud of being part of North Orange County ROP, and kudos to all of them and all the hard work as they get started before we do in all of the other districts, and then we'll come and start back with us when we start. So that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, so I've been enjoying my summer as well, and I just really wanted to, on the consent calendar, it was like finished projects and things that have been going on all summer. And I just wanted to thank our maintenance and facilities and our custodial staff for getting everything in order for our students to come back and making sure everything's wonderful. And I also want to do a huge shout out to all of our extended learning programs, the things that I've seen. the pictures and the feedback have been super positive. So thank you to everybody involved in that and making that happen. And I look forward, there's a lot of new back to school things coming up, and I look forward to attending them all. So that's all I have. So I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn the
So-
meeting at 8:31.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Quintero, a second by Mrs. Blades. All in favor?
Aye.
And that was an aye from our student board
Heck
member,
yeah, you
and
never
meeting
make a-
ends at
Never say no.
8:31.